Sometimes when I play back certain weapons, I was thinking that how high can the damage can achieve? Yes, it is true that I can use the Rhino's Roll, Mirage Eclipse to try to push the damage as high as I could, but what happens if we try to let the damage build up so high by itself? Except we need some help, of course, but the problem is that what kind of help can we use? And with the new updates here, the new Archon shard managed to provide us some of the extra damage that we wanted to, which is why for this video, I want to try to see that how high can I push the Toxin damage be. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Now, the Archon shard that I was mentioning about is the Emerald Archon shard, which you will need to combine the Ember and the Azure Archon shard. What's so interesting about the Emerald Archon shard is that it's more focused on the Toxin and the Corrosive buff. I was more interested in the first buff, which is the Toxin status effects can deal extra damage. This is very useful because I was thinking that how high can the Toxin damage we will be pushing up to, which is why for my Saryn here, I have embedded all 5 Tau Forged Emerald Archon shard. Yep, don't ask me why I have these. If you ask, it's just only because I already stock out a lot of Tau Forged shard. Oh my god, I feel like there's a lot of eyes looking behind me. The reason why I embedded all the Emerald Archon shard into my Saryn Prime is of course the third ability Toxic Lash, because Toxic Lash buffs so hard in the Toxin damage, which is why we need to make sure that the Toxic damage from the Toxic Lash can generate as high as we could, so that the damage can be extremely high. Not to mention that, thanks to how Toxic Lash can get a lot of buffs from several aspects, which include the Rhino's Roll, Toxin element mods, faction mods, etc., which is why we can make good use of this. And don't forget that Toxic Lash can also provide double effects on the melee weapon, which is why later on for our main weapons, we will be using the melee weapons that can do the high Toxin damage. So, for our Saryn Prime build, it will be looks like this. For our Aura slot and Excellence slot, it's almost the same thing. Because of how we don't have anything to run, I'm running the Rejuvenation for my Aura slot. You can go with Combat Discipline, but then you will need to run Arcane Avenger. And for my case here, I didn't run it. So, I can only run Rejuvenation as my minimum value. Prime Sharefooted is a must, and if you're quite curious why this is almost a must for all Warframe build, you can try and check on this video. I already explained quite detailed. For our strength, because of how we need to push our base strength of 30% for those abilities to achieve 100%, we need to get ourselves 334% at minimum. Which is why for our strength, we're using Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, August Secrets, and Walk Augmented. All this strength value will allow us to gain 338%, which is quite sufficient enough for us to achieve to what the value we want. For our duration, we have Narrow-Minded and Prime Continuity because there's nothing really much we can go for, and this is a solo play, so the range is not really that important. We also have the Venom Dose to buff the Toxic Lash even further, as well as Prime Redirection for our new Shield Gating build. And for our energy, we have the Prime Flow and Arcane Energize, because somehow this build can become very energy hungry or quite very sufficient. That's based on how you play your build. And the melee weapon that we'll be using is the Dual Ichor. If you're still curious about how I build my Dual Ichor, you can check on this video that I did make a long time ago, so you can check on that. I already explained in detail. But for this Dual Ichor build, the thing that we're changing here is exchange the range into the Toxin mod, because we need to try to amplify the Toxin damage as high as possible. You can see that I'm using Protostep, but if you still think that it's quite hard to play or you want to maximize your Toxin damage, you can go with the 60-60 mod. But for my build, I still need some of them, so I can only run 2 at the same time. And thanks to the new melee arcane mod that can equip it to all melee weapons, I'm using the melee retaliation, which can gain extra melee damage for every 200 shield you have, but the value can be half if you have overshield. The key here is that because our Saryn already running the Prime Redirection, we already have 1000 shields which provide 150% melee damage for ourselves. If let's say I can gain overshield, it's the best, but there's not many ways I can gain overshield because it's a new shield gating build, so 150% melee damage is all I can get, but I still think it's quite sufficient for my build. And there you have it. This build tried to focus on let the Toxin damage to do the maximum damage. And let's say that this build is actually can be very overkill if you do it very well. Because at some cases, I even found that the Toxin field from the Dual Ichor can manage to do all the DPS work. Funny enough, even X-Light cannot stand this, even with the high armor they actually have. So I can say that this is very fun. But theoretically, you can push the strength even higher with all the strength mod, as well as all the Toxin damage. It can become very overkill. But like I mentioned, That's my mini build. But this also means that this build have room for further improvements, so you can try to play for yourself whether you want to push the strength even higher or play just like me, safely but overkill. If this is your first time watching, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss out any newest contents from me. Why not leave your comments down below if you got any ideas or thoughts you want to share with all of us. And that's it from me, and as always, I will see you all next time. Bye bye!